One and a two and a...
Well, welcome to a brand new live stream right here on the Long Box Punk. That's me. I'm Chris, and known as the Punk here on the internet, and I am joined today by Shaun Barbour. There he is.
What's going on? What's going on?
Of InstinctComics.com is where you can find him online for all of the things that he has worked on, which we're definitely going to dig into because you're a busy man, my friend. You're not just like a one comic kind of guy. You've got comics, you've got novels, you do comic book reviews here on YouTube. You do a whole slew of things that you're constantly involved with. And I'm excited to get into it with another fellow horror comic creator. So thanks for hanging out with me on a World Cup Sunday. I'm stoked to talk comics instead of soccer with you.
Priorities, man. What do I say?
So as being a comic show, I have to start with your origin story. So like, how did you get into comics? When did you start creating comics? Where did all this come from?
Sure. No, originally, I've always been real big on artwork and stuff. And even in my senior year of high school, I was the art kid. When everybody was doing those, where will you see so-and-so in the future?
Yeah.
I was called out as being a comic book creator. So it's always kind of been there. But after high school, I had the opportunity to work with a buddy of mine on a comic book idea that he had as an inker for him. And that kind of jump started everything. And as being a person who's never really been well off, I sought it out as an opportunity to leave something behind for my kids. I'm not going to, if anything, I'm leaving behind debt and comic books. So out of those two, I figure at least one of those my kids will be proud of. It's something that's part of me, something that they have grown to associate me with, maybe have even grown with me in. My oldest son, he's my road dog for conventions, and he's my like a concept editor, I guess you would call it, like creative editor. So that's fun. But yeah, and then so after that first inking opportunity, I went on to ink for a bunch of other people, thus the Instinked Comics, and eventually had my own stories to tell. So then I started putting out my own comic book, starting with Belial and moving on to this current one, I Drive for Cerber. And when life really hit me pretty hard, I had a child custody battle I had to go through. So that was uncomfortable and debt inducing. So I took a little bit of a financial and somewhat creative break by writing a couple of horror novels. So I've always got something going. I have a hard time sitting down and just kind of chilling.
Yeah.
So that's where it all started and leading up to where we are.
Nice. Now, I know in doing my extensive research that I do for all of these streams, I saw on Kickstarter that this is the second time for I Drive for Cerber 1 through 3. Yeah. Walk me through that first campaign, because that was just earlier this year. Like, what did you learn from that? Did you tweak anything on the campaign to then relaunch it now? Like, how did that process go?
Honestly, like I said, taking a break from the comic books to focus on getting custody of my daughter, or primary custody of my daughter anyway. I have been socially in the shadows, right? So from the first launch to this one, I felt really comfortable about the first one. I have a lot of people that are interested. The creepypasta community is actually supportive. And so I was like, okay, so I think I was just excited to get back into it. So I ran it with energy instead of preparation, and that wasn't enough. So having the failed, I think my goal was higher. My expectation, I thought people were going to jump on a lot quicker and it wasn't going to need as much promo work ahead of time. So I didn't do the pre-gaming or emails or anything like that. My layout was super simple. So once I got about 2/3 of the way through that first campaign, and it was shorter. I ran it for only 3 weeks.
Okay.
So all of those things, I was like, I need to actually give myself the opportunity, and I'm going to look at it as a failed forward situation.
Yep.
And go back to doing what I was doing, put the time, the effort, the recognition and sharing and actually engaging with people, not just about myself, but about what they're into as well.
Yeah.
And so being what I started a few years back was the Indie Comic Conspiracy on Facebook, and that was just strictly for creatives that wanted to focus on the process and not just the promotion. I think somewhere along that part, I kind of lost myself in that. So I was like, let's go back to the process. Let's go back to actually engaging, talking, sharing, showing support, getting, a hold of, other people's Kickstarters and involving myself a little bit more and finding the passion, not just for my own stuff, but actually the community. And so I think getting back in touch with the roots of where all of this comic book stuff started for me had helped a lot.
Yeah. I do think there's definitely like a very important communal aspect to it, of not just being the person that shows up that's like, hey, give me money for my thing, but also showing up to support the other creators and boost other comics and all that. So like there's the first comic that I kickstarted last year was very much like that. Never would have happened had I not worked at and developed a community within other indie comic creators that, looking at the backer list, it was like, oh yeah, I've backed your book and your book and your book and your book and and it was just like, we show up for each other. And that was the honestly overwhelming part of it, was just that community coming back to say like, hey, now you've got a thing and we're going to champion your thing as much as you've championed ours.
Dude, indie comic books, I like to think of as the same $20 being passed around from creator to creator, like legitimately, whether it's in $5 digital increments or a $20, like I'm actually truly digging and want a physical copy of what you're doing. It's that same $20, man.
Yep. Yeah, there was, we just crowdfunded and fulfilled a horror anthology, and there were backers from that once I shipped their books, I was like, their campaign is ending as I'm shipping their books to them, and then they're going to turn around and ship books to me. Yeah. And it's like, why are we even spending the money? Like, why don't we just ship each other the books at no cost, because it's going to be a wash anyway? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. No, I think it's a lot of us have significant others, and I think it dulls the pain a little bit. No, I've got to do it. It's part of my, and for the business minded, it's a write-off if you're looking at it that way. It is a business expense. You are engaging with the community. You're in the realm of the things that you're creating. You're using it as a marketing expense because maybe you went on a podcast with them. Maybe you did something else. But all of that stuff, depending on it, which mindset, it kind of hits all those boxes if you think about it.
Yeah, that's something that I have hesitated to really get serious about, is like that whole digital or the business aspect of it, of doing like the write-offs and stuff, because I would have so much that I could write off.
I haven't either. When it comes to 1080 time, man, I am a let's get it in as soon as possible.
Yep. You mentioned creepypasta, and that's something that I've seen in other places online, but I don't know what that is. What is creepypasta?
Okay, so already knowing that you're a fan of like anthologies and stuff, and so multiple different creators and short format stories, creepypasta started more or less on Reddit, and what it is short horror stories that people put out there just to be read. There's no profit, there's no anything. It's where your Slender Man started, it's where your Back Room started. The stories for those started as a creepypasta, just a short form story that maybe had multiple installments, gained popularity, stuff like that. Okay. So same thing happened for iDrive for Cerber. My son actually got me interested in reading people's creepypastas. And so from that, I actually came across the iDrive for Cerber story. I did some internet sleuthing and found out that the person that was kind of incognito, like writing these stories, I found out who they actually were, and I reached out, and they only lived like an hour away from me. So it was kind of serendipitous that it worked out that way. I was able to meet them in person, and we connected, and they had an idea. They're like, okay, well, I'm not opposed to it, but I've been burned before. And I said, tell you what, tell me what you're interested in doing. Obviously, I can show you all of my numbers. It's not for profit. It is passion project. Here's my family's important. You know, your story is important. And here's who I want to get involved. And this is the artwork that would be representing the story. And they were all for it, especially since the penciler that I have for iDrive for Cerber, Kyron, actually lives in Sacramento as well. Same city as them. So we all kind of got to connect, and it's really worked out. So, and it already had a fan base. It's already got fan fiction. It's got spin-off stories. And so the association's really fun for me.
That's awesome. Yeah. I saw it on the Kickstarter that it was like under the creative team, you had the Reddit user that created the initial story. So I'm glad that you just beat me to the punch, because I was like, how does that work? Like, how do you even find that? But it's insane that like figuring out who that person is and then finding out that they're only an hour away, where also your penciler is too. Like that's small. That's not the normal case. I feel like it's usually like, oh yeah, I'm here and they're 6 time zones away, separated by an ocean and
for sure
borders and all that stuff. So yeah, that's got to be really like, have you guys met together as a group?
Absolutely. For the first 2 books, we definitely got together. I've done some horror conventions actually in Sacramento that they actually came out and sat at the booth with me. For the first book, everybody on the first book team got together and we signed every book as a team.
That's
so cool. If people were there for that first issue, they got everybody's signatures, not just like mine on the books. And it was kind of a cool thing, because usually you're only going to get one person's signature, but because we were all located so close, we all got to come together and do that. So that was a pretty rad experience. And we keep in touch. I go to music festivals and stuff with Mofucius, the creator of iDrive for Cerber, and I meet up, and I've done work with Kyron for some of his stuff. He's done stuff for me. We share, you know, it's a support thing, and it cuts down on a lot of things, but we understand how it goes. We pay each other fairly. We, keep tabs on each other's well-being, that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's not just the transactional experience. And I feel like that's when you really hit that sweet spot as a creative unit, when there's more on the line than just a payday. Because like having worked with people that became very quick friends of mine, that I text regularly now, it's like, that's the cool thing, is I can text them almost every day. And it's not always even about comics. It's like, man, I had this thing at work and like, what the hell? And it's just normal friend stuff. And to have that, and then to bring that into the creative process, to then be able to give like very direct feedback that isn't like, I'm not attacking you. I'm like, iron sharpens iron, right? Like, I'm not trying to make this make you feel bad. I just want this to be the best product that we can possibly have. And so like, have you worked with the other end of that, where it is purely transactional, and like, what are the two comparatively?
I find, as far as like the indie comics and stuff go, I have had people involved that were purely transactional. For certain roles, I feel like that's okay. Like, it's fine. I'm not one that likes to cut financial corners. I want to pay everybody a fair wage. So I'm not necessarily going overseas for artists and stuff. I'm trying to get people that I actually see active in the community or have been recommended first, because unfortunately there's a lot of scammers out there as well, and they'll reach out to you. And if you are just leading with that excitement, it's excitement's good, but not when it takes, place of what, common sense we have as individuals.
Yeah.
So, like my colorist, Michael Woods, a guy, he did, some dope comic books, but he came highly recommended, and I had him try out. And so that's one of the things that I did to kind of weed people out. But he's shown, and great work. But what you don't get from a transactional partnership is you're not going to get the cheerleaders for your project. You're not going to get as much support. Once they collect their money, they're like, I'm here for the next one. Cool. You paid me. We're good. I'll, whenever you're ready, I'm ready. And as long as you have a good working relationship, then, you can rely on them. But when it comes time to actually funding the book, people like your Kyron Silva, your Eric Cockrell, your, excuse me, Danny J. Quick, those people that are active, outspoken, not just in comics, but in life in general. They post, they laugh, they share. You support them, and they're going to support you. And so more than anything, with the social media becoming what it's become, where it just nerfs the creative intention to try to market yourself, having people that'll do that for you, that helps a lot. Whether it's a simple link in the comments, they know that you're posting today, they'll go on and drop it if you forget it. Those type of things mean much more than just a standard page rate. And so I think you miss out on that when you have a transactional system. They're like, no, they're going on to the next gig and they're collecting that money and moving on. So if you want to make money, work for somebody else's comics. If you want to spend money, work for your own. And so those partnerships, those friendships, the actual like friendships, those are exponentially better. In my experience. And I've been doing this for 9-10 years now. So
you've seen a thing or two in the experiences,
good and bad. I've had my own good and bad. I mean, some partnerships don't go the way you want them to, even if they're separating the business from the personal is often really difficult, especially if bad decisions or sites that aren't purely in alignment, not necessarily mistakes, but like maybe you're not totally aligned and you're heading off, or life gets in the way one way or the other for one or both of you, and creatively send you off in different directions. It just happens. And your best friend can end up not being the best partner when it comes to creative stuff. So you have to nurture that, all the time, and be clear, be transparent, be honest, work with integrity, and, stand 10 toes down when you confront those obstacles, and it will go much further for you.
One other thought before we dive into iDrive for Cerber. You mentioned Danny J. Quick, and talking about the small world of indie comics. He was just at a convention that I work with called 5-Star Comic-Con in Dayton, Ohio, and we were on a panel together, and that was the first time that we had met. And so like scrolling through the Kickstarter and seeing his name attached to it, I was like, man, talk about a small freaking world. Like, what there's so many overlapping circles in this comic space that I shouldn't continue to be surprised by it. But every time I see another overlap, like, wait a second, that, how does that connection happen? How did I fit into that? It just like, it always blows my mind. And I mean, he's definitely one of like the hardest working dudes. So it didn't surprise me that of anybody that I've met, he's the one that's tied to another project that I'm seeing on Kickstarter. I thought it was rad. Like what all is he doing with iDrive for Cerber?
He's actually my letterer.
Okay.
So he does lettering, and he's not afraid to kind of tell me that idea doesn't work. We're not doing that. We're going to make this adjustment, which is really, really nice because his experience comes in as well. During the first 2 issues, in fact, my vision got in the way of the clarity, and I might actually end up having the first 2 issues relettered by Danny as we're being successful, just because he pointed out some stuff, and he's been doing it, and I learn, and I, you know, when it comes to reprints, I can afford a relettering versus, you know, doing artwork over or something. That's but that honesty is rad. And then watching him and Kyron, they've got their own podcast, and you might have actually seen Kyron at that convention as well, because he flew out from California to Ohio to go to it, which was pretty rad.
Yeah, he was probably on that. There was a panel. The panel that we did, there were 6 of us, and it was like comic writers versus artists in like a presidential debate style. It was a whole lot of fun. But I was like, I only know one person on this panel. So
I've never been on a panel. I think that would be kind of cool. So
yeah,
kudos to you, man, for even just a couple years in, just jumping in and doing it, man. That's huge.
Yeah, it was a great weekend. Like, it was the first time I met my collaborator in person. He flew up from Oklahoma. Our other buddy drove up with the family from Texas, and they tabled together. And so, like, every time that I was needed for a staff thing, they were like, well, he's either going to be at their table or at my other buddy / collaborator's table, which was in the same aisle. So they just go to this aisle in Artist Alley, and he's going to be there either at, at this table or that table. And every time that's where I was, because I was like, it's not often that I get to actually see people like in person and not behind a screen and on camera. It was the best, and meeting people like Danny just made it that much better. It was definitely like the best possible scenario for sure.
And the creative world is so small. Like, when you get in contact with people in person and they can be excited in person about other creators, that's a huge thing. And, you know, in a perfect world, I would have been able to go to that convention as well. I lived in Ohio for about 7 years. And so that's where I graduated in my high school from, and I worked at Kings Island out there. And
I was there for 9 years.
I lived in the parking lot for my first summer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I worked out something with the security group there to allow me to exchange uniforms. And I was working like 6-7 days a week, because the labor laws are different in Ohio than California. And so, and it's a seasonal job. There's no overtime, but you can work as much as you wanted. So that was kind of cool. I stayed and made enough money during that first summer to actually find myself a place. And long story, but that is the cool part. But yeah, no, I would have really liked to go, but it was nice and to see my friends going out there and doing their thing and making those connections. And, you know, like I said, the best creators form connections and share their resources. Yeah. And that's how we get to be more successful.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the overlap between indie comics and like the punk music scene, because it's always the same of like, if someone needs a hand up, you give it. And it's not like I'll give you a hand up if you scratch my back later. It's like, no. Like, what do you need? I know how to do that. Here's the connection. Here's the resources. Here's what I know that I can share with you to help you get that next step forward. That's a whole, it's a whole soapbox that I've gone on before about the, like, are we competing with each other, or are we all just like sharing the same $5 bill? Like, what is, as creators, how, you know, where's that imaginary line of helping versus too much help versus I'm going to help you and then you're going to be more successful than me? And does that hurt me, or does that benefit me too? And I'm of the mindset that if one boat rises, it's not because mine lowers, it's because the water's rising. So my boat's going to raise too. And Absolutely. Like, that's where I fall every time on that. I understand the other side of it of like, well, if they're getting a sale, that's a sale that I could have gotten. And like, I understand that mentality. Sorry, Carmen. But like, I just think that it's more of a, not everything is for everyone. So yeah, they might have gotten a sale, but they might have a different product than I do. And that doesn't mean that we have the same audience or demographic. Like, my book might be for someone completely not that person. Yeah. And, you know, I might make a sale that wouldn't buy anything from the other creator for the exact same reason. Like, it's crazy to me to think that my book is for everyone, because I know it's not. I know that my book is for a very specific audience. And if you're not part of the audience, like, okay, that's fine that I'm not getting a sale. If you look at it and you humor me and letting me tell you about my book, cool. Because I don't expect you to buy the book. If you come to my table wearing golf clothes, like you're probably not going to want to, invest in like a DIY punk horror comic. And that's fine. That's totally fine.
Horror is already niche enough. You throw punk on top of that, you're micro focusing your audience there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I've gone through a little bit of that thought process too, of like, are we too hyper like needle driven in? But then the people that we do find are like super fans all in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like there's no like, oh, I'm like room temperature fan. It's like, I'm either burning hot for you or I'm not a fan at all. And there's no in between, which is totally fine for me.
Well, see, the one thing that's a really huge benefit to being in such a niche is the fact that the ability to stand out is even easier because it's you versus 1,000 versus you in one in a million.
Yeah.
So if you do what you're doing and you do it well, those people are going to be hardcore for you.
Yeah. Yep. So let's talk about what you're doing well. Give me the pitch on I Drive for Cerber. Like, what's the story? Where did we get? Because this is now the 3rd issue.
Yep.
I did the backup tier because I missed the first 2. But so like, what's this story all about?
All right, so I Drive for Cerber is about Jim. He's an out-of-work construction worker who's just trying to look for a job. He applied for Uber, failed, and while he's sitting on the toilet scrolling on his phone, he finds an ad for Cerber. It's a rideshare service. So he answers the odd questions. He gets hired within minutes, and his first job is immediate. And he finds out on the first job that he is transporting paranormal passengers. So now he has to basically get them to their destinations at the risk of dying trying. So issues 1 and 2 are the first story arc where one of his passengers, it's his introductory, his introduction to Cerber, as well as any readers. One of his passengers ends up being his murdered sister, the ghost of his murdered sister. And so he's got to track down her killer. And it all actually comes together in that first couple issues. And so now with issue 3, we're actually expanding a little bit now, and we're really getting into the world of Cerber, which is fun.
That's awesome. So Cerber is like are they only in the rideshare like business, or are they like have multiple fields that all kind of service the paranormal side?
Yeah. So, okay. So as far as Cerber specifically, with the original storyline, it is just, sorry, my daughter.
No, you're good.
It is rideshare based, but there's a spinoff called I Ride for Cerber, which is like a food delivery service.
Okay.
Speaking of partnerships that kind of went sour, that was a fan that had propositioned the creator for the ability to write this kind of spin-off story. That went bad, so I'm actually toying with opening that back up with Cerber Eats. So that's there might be something else there. So but yeah, so currently it's just the rideshare service, but it is worldwide. So
okay, that's awesome. And like how do you adapt someone else's idea that was posted as a copy pasta or on Reddit? Like, how do you take that idea and then turn it into a comic and then expand on it? Like, are you working with that person directly to expand as you're going?
So for the first couple of issues, the agreement was I couldn't add anything to it, but I could leave things out.
Okay.
And so what I did was I put together the first 10 parts of the story. So the first 10 chapters, so to speak, of the prose, and cherry picked out the most interesting parts and re-scripted it to kind of fit the comic book format, giving people those page turns that people look for, the information that needed to be there. the way it was written, Jim was already the narrative voice, so it kind of like it works, but getting that emotional connection is hard to kind of put in paper visually sometimes. So having to rework some of those sections to kind of fit and give you much more information in a compact way is really difficult. To me, writing prose is actually easier than writing comics, just because when you're writing prose, it's free form. You can see the thoughts, you can feel the feelings, you do all that, where you have to communicate to somebody else. If you're not the penciler, you have to communicate the imagery to them and hope that they understand. And so Kyron does a great job. And then of course, with me doing the inks, I get that preliminary thing. And if I see something I kind of want to tweak, I can actually change some of that artwork up or make corrections and stuff, which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah. That still is like a point of contention when I'm scripting, because I have always done prose and only in the last 4 years started doing comic scripting. And it is very different to figure out, like, what do I show versus what do I tell?
Yeah.
And the saying that every comic writer is always saying is like, you have to let the artist show instead of you tell.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do I do that with some, like, it's not as easy as it sounds it should be. And like, it is challenging, but it's challenging in the best possible way, because then it leads to conversations with your artist of like, hey, this is what we're trying to figure out. Like, instead of adding in a line of dialogue of shock and awe or whatever, like, can you just draw them shocked in the background, and then like that'll convey. So it is, I definitely get the, like, it's easier to write prose because you can look at Tolkien, right? Like, you can give 7 pages of descriptions of a purple poppy flower field. And in comics, it's like, yeah, that's the opening panel.
Yeah.
And you move on to the next. Like, the pacing of comics when you're reading it versus prose is so much faster. Like, how do you, when you're writing with the page turns and the different beats that comic books have as a medium, like how much intentionality are you putting into making sure that you're hitting the marks that you want to hit?
The first and foremost for me is always the story. So if it fits 22 pages, cool. If it needs 34, 36 pages, then that's where it's going to go. I don't like selling people short. And that's one of the bonuses that we get as indie creators, is that we can make those adjustments. And when people back you, they back you. They're there for the story, and you need to shine in ways that maybe some other people don't have that opportunity to do. And one of the biggest things is being able to take as much room as you need. I mean, you know, the only restrictions that we have are time and money, right? So if we have those resources, maybe you need to put in a little bit more time so you don't have to spend as much money. Maybe you can throw a couple extra bucks and speed things up somewhere else. And again, if you don't have any funds, time is still your friend. Just putting out the best that you can. And then finally, when you're happy with whatever it is, then putting it out there, and not selling yourself short like I did with the last Drive for Cerber campaign. You have to take the time. You have to take the time. Yeah.
So so you've got so you're in the Kickstarter, you're running the campaign. What, like, is there a magical amount of the book being completed that you feel like you have to hit before you launch? Or is it like, I know that by the time we get done, Kyron's going to have all of the art completed, and then it's just a matter of final touches. Like, where is there a magic percentage of work completed before you launch your Kickstarters?
Percentage? No. I think for myself, knowing that I've seen not a lot, but a few people out there, when things go wrong, they go really, really wrong. And people are 10 times more likely to, in our social climate right now, to spread negativity, and it goes so much further, so much faster than anything positive. I like to put campaigns and stuff where my mouth is. I want to show people that it's done. So even with iDrive for Cerber, I actually pay for the comic book production with a credit card, and I'm repaying it with the campaigns. But for me, as long as I have pages, completed pages, that I can show people that get the first hook of the book out of the way. For iDrive for Cerber #1, it took me 12 pages, and I had a little ash can made physically to go to the conventions with me. For this campaign, I gave you the first 5 pages. It gets you the first introduction to this story arc, and then you actually get to see a couple of the, what I like to think of as the monster of the week type of introduction, see what you're actually getting in for. What's the flavor? You get that dark sarcasm, you get the horror elements of it, and you also get the fun behind the actual story. So you know what you're in for. You're going to, with iDrive for Cerber, I wanted to give you the fact that it plays out more like Idle Hands than a Final Destination or a Nightmare on Elm Street. You know what I mean? You're getting you're getting a different flavor. So enough to make sure that I'm hitting the people that are going to appreciate the story.
I think that's a smart approach. As someone who's also, like you, a super backer and has backed a bunch of campaigns, I will say that if I look at a comics Kickstarter page and there's no images at all other than the cover, I've been burned by that before. And so now it's like, if you don't have any page examples or panels at all, aside from just the cover, like, I'm not going to back it until I know that the inside cover or the inside artwork either matches what the cover is, or it's a different style, but I still really like the interior style. I don't think there's anything wrong with people that want to have, different artists do the cover. I get it. Like, that's what you see on the shelf, and don't judge a book by its cover isn't true with comics. But like, it can't be, for me, the only thing I judge the book by, because if I just wanted the cover, I would just buy a print of the cover. Like, I'm buying it for, like you said, the story. I want to read what you're telling me. And if I can do that in an art style that I enjoy, great. But if the art style takes me out of it, then I'm less likely, but I won't know that unless you show me. So
see, I know personally for me, I'm 100 times more susceptible if something is in my hands. If I go to a convention and I hand somebody the physical book, they're 10 times more likely to actually pick it up if you actually hand it to them. Here's a reader copy. They can read it. So I like to kind of give them the book to look at and to feel with the campaign. I'm going to tell them about the story. I'm going to give them full completed pages so they can actually see how the dialogue is delivered, whether it's going to be readable. The story, is it digestible in a way that they're going to, appreciate? And so when I look at somebody else's Kickstarter, I'm looking for the same stuff. And I know for me, I was a writer, a comic book reviewer for OutrightGeekery.com before a lot of this stuff happened. And so knowing the technical aspects of that, I can look at something and say, oh, they're taking this seriously, or, oh, this was thrown together by AI, or, oh, this is great artwork, no dialogue. Maybe it's a weak story. It might be pretty, but maybe it's a weak story. And alternatively, I've had some that haven't had the strongest artwork, but the dialogue was off the hook. And I was hooked by that book, surprisingly. And that's happened both by doing reviews and by backing comics. So
that was one of the things that we talked about in that panel of the writers versus artists, was what's more important? Is it the art or is it the dialogue? And it was, surprisingly enough, like, I don't know why, but I expected there to be like fist fights going into that panel, because it, like, as a writer, I feel very strongly about writing, but also just as strongly about the art. But I know I'm still new, so I'm still in the honeymoon phase of making comics, and I got looks from everybody except my collaborator, Alex, who was also on that panel as an artist. when I said, like, I'm just happy to have my name listed in the credits page. I don't
mean,
care if it's on the top, at the bottom. I don't care if
Yep.
there's a billion other names above mine or mine's buried in. And so I'm just happy to be on the page. And all of them are like, really? I'm like, yeah, I just love making comics. Like, I don't care where my name is on the page. That means nothing to me. I just want my name on the page. Right. And so, like, that's part of that conversation was talking about, like, well, the writers all kind of were like, yeah, you need the art to hook someone because they see the art first and they can understand if they like the art or not immediately. The dialogue is what the artists then countered that with. The dialogue is what keeps the reader coming back.
Absolutely.
And it was like, okay, so this is a happy balance of
yeah. The art hooks them and the story keeps them. Yep, for sure.
So looking forward then, assuming that in the next 15 days, you make the last like $1,000 or whatever it is to the minimum funding goal. Like, what happens after issue 3? Do you have plans to just make this ongoing? Is there like a set endpoint that you know before you want to start expanding into other corners of the universe?
So once this comic book gets done, it's gonna allow me to finish my other comic book. There's a 4-issue comic book that I do called Belial, and it's a hell-based horror-themed comedy comic book as well. And the 4th issue for that is actually going to be a double-length issue. It's the closing of that story arc. And so I'll be doing that one, and then I'll bounce back over. I already have scripted issue number 4 for I Drive for Cerber, and if Kyron wants to surprise me with the artwork for that, he can do that too, and I'll make it work. You know what I mean? But then I also have my novels here. I've got a 3rd book that I've been writing for that, and I've got always new ideas. I have a whole nother comic book that I already got edited once I got the story scripted, and so that one's in the waiting too. So honestly, it's only the time and the money, those two things. But next up will probably be Belial, and then we're going back to Cerber, and if something happens in between, then you'll see the next novel pop out.
Got it. That's I too have like a running document of just ideas that I capture as I have them, because I know if I don't capture them like right away, I will forget them. Which reminds me, I've had like 3 different ideas come up, and I already forget 2 of them that would make really fun. I'm trying to do single page comics.
Post-its are my best friend.
Usually I just pull up my phone and I do a voice memo. But one of the ideas was at a wedding reception, and I was like, that's a great idea, but I don't want to like start writing comic stuff in the middle of this reception. And I always get them at the weirdest times, and I need to be better about grabbing it and just capturing it, because I had 3 really great ideas in the last like 72 hours, and they're gone. And that's,
dude, I've done that, and I put down the idea was so strong, I put down like words, and then I look at it later and I'm like, I missed it. It's gone. It's now into the ether. Maybe someday it'll bounce back, but so I totally get that. And I work at a hospital, so a lot of times I'm like, somebody could be headed to a gurney, but there's a story that's running around. I can't help it. It happens when it happens.
Yeah. One of the things on the Kickstarter is the add-ons that you have. I love that you have an air freshener as one of your add-ons. Like, that's such that's one of the things, that's that like extra 5% that I love talking about, that I get super nerdy about. Because like anybody can do a Kickstarter campaign, and they can have the book, and they can do add-ons and whatever. But when you have that extra 5% of energy and attention and, specificity to say it's about driving paranormal creatures and characters, why wouldn't there be an air freshener? Because every Uber that I've ever been in has an air freshener in it. So to have that, like, I saw that and I popped, and I was like, all right, that's great. Like, I love that you're doing that. Is that like, do you try and do different things for add-ons? Because I missed the first two campaigns. Like, has there been something unique like that for each campaign? Or do you find like the air freshener thing works? It's a fun idea. People love it. I'm going to bring it back each campaign.
The air freshener really works if you get the right scent. So for my Belial comic book, he works at a bar. So I did air fresheners for that, but they were pina colada scented. So that was just for the fun of doing it. The iDrive for Cerber ones, I did as like a license plate design, but with a new car smell, and it ties directly into issue number 1. Okay. And for the campaign, I did a with issues number 1 and 2. I had a driver for Cerber, I guess, reward tier where you would get an air freshener. I actually have Cerber, what is that? The Cerber logo on some hand sanitizers that I had made. There's spray-on sanitizers that you just clip to your keys on your purse, whatever. And then I also have the iDrive for Cerber cards, the driver card. So you have your membership, and I carry it around with me all the time. And so you get iDrive. It's a Cerber driver card. It has the "We'll get you no matter where you are," that double meaning slogan. But on the back, if you have a magnifying glass and you get it, there's a disclaimer that's there that's entertaining to read.
That's awesome.
And it's just in world. It's fun. It's something somebody can take with them. You know. It's got a little QR code on the back that'll lead you back to the store. So if somebody sees it or they start talking about it, those I like doing in-world rewards, which are always, always, always fun.
Yeah, that's great. So that was a win for me. Just like perusing it, I was like, man, I wish I had all the money and I could just do all of the tiers and get all of the add-ons. Like having the bumper sticker, perfect sense. And it just, I thought of it. I could see the driver cards like in the in like the movie Taxi, right? Where all the drivers have their like picture and the registration numbers and all their license numbers and all that stuff like mounted in the car. I could see those cards being mounted in the Uber cars and everything, like the Cerber cars. And I was just like, he gets it. Like Shaun gets it. This is great.
I would love to go somewhere one day and all of a sudden I see somebody that has like one of the driver cards just posted, or with the air freshener as an Uber driver or a Lyft driver. You know what I mean? I would just be tickled. I'd be like, what's your address? You're getting free stuff from me. I'd ship them out, like, because I don't know. I just love creating. And like I said, and I did this for my kids and as a creative and therapeutic outlet for myself. If you know my backstory and then you read the stuff that I write and the stuff I get involved in, you're going to connect those dots. And some people have contacted me outside and said, this hits way too real. Like, what's the backstory? What's going on with this? And so they get a little bit extra. And I'm like, I don't gatekeep any information. I tell people exactly, I don't care about sharing the spoilers. I'm going to tell you what's there, because by the time you get in on that, oftentimes they forget. They're going to have a, oh yeah moment, which is just as, effective as a aha moment. Yep. So, it's all there, but it's therapy and it's a way for me to leave something.
That's cool. I, as a dad that is constantly thinking like, what am I leaving for my daughter? Like, what's my legacy? The legacy thing, I don't know why the last like month or so for me has been this very intellectually profound moment of just like,
waves.
Just the legacy thing of like what I'm leaving, as I think it's probably because my parents are all aging and like getting closer and closer to no longer being with us here. And it's just like, what are they leaving me as their legacy? Like, I don't give a shit about their money. I don't care about the wills and all the legal crap that I'm the signer of all of it on, because my sister lives 4,000 miles away in Montana. Like, what's the emotional legacy that I'm going to have after they're gone? And so then it's got me thinking like, well, shit, what am I doing with that for my daughter? Like I should be intentional about that now so that she knows as long as possible what it is that I'm trying to do for her. So I love hearing another dad talking about that, and some of the custody stuff. We could talk offline about all of that stuff because same, been there. So to keep things on the more fun and Cerber focus, if you were a Cerber driver, who or what monster would you most want to drive somewhere and least want to drive somewhere?
Okay, so let's see. I think the most want to drive. Okay, so Cerber, it does what? Cryptids, creepypastas, urban legends, monsters of from all around the world. My favorite one, I would have to say, would probably be, may not smell too great, but a Bigfoot would be rad.
Okay.
So that would be fun. Or if we're going straight monster, Frankenstein's monster would be dope.
Yeah.
Least favorite, I would probably say the Blob. There's just, you're not safe. It's not okay.
Yeah, it's not going to contain in your back seat.
No, it's everywhere. It's gonna leave a mess, and you're definitely not gonna make it out.
That's great. And I love that, like, thinking about, okay, if I'm the driver, what are they doing to my car? What's it going to be? It's not just like, oh, I like this monster. One of the things that you had, I wrote this down. Sometimes I write stuff and I'm like, what the hell was I talking about? I literally just wrote down creator who gives a damn. And I think it was in like your about creator section on the campaign page.
Mm-hmm.
I love that, because it goes into what we were talking about earlier with like the relational versus transactional creators. And I feel like if you're a creator who does give a damn about making a good product, about having something that you can leave for your kids to be proud of, about finding connection and community and all of those things, like that to me is as much of why I make comics as it is just to tell a story. And so I'm curious, like, what does that mean for you when you say that you're a creator that gives a damn?
Basically, I'm here for the comic veteran, the comic newbie, the everyman, the underdog. I care about the story. I care about the messages that inadvertently that I give through the stories. Yeah. I can't seem to escape myself going through underdog stories where shit happens, life's not fair, get over it, do what you got to do, survive. And everybody has a story. It might be a different story than you. It might not be the same story as you, but the way people experience it is usually the same. Those emotions are the same. Everything's there. And I don't force myself into a friendship. I don't force myself into a creative project, but I'm always here if somebody needs me, whether it's comics or friendship or whatever. And that's, at the end of the day, I like bringing my friends along with me. I like watching them rise. I like being able to not work on a comic book by myself, but bring people along that I can say, hey, check this out. Check out what they're doing. I can share that and people get associated with that. And I would love someday for somebody that makes it much bigger than me still say my name and say they were there in the beginning. They gave me what was important and helped me build the foundation for the drive. And because we don't all have the same resources. Yeah. We don't all have the same luck base. If this was D&D, we wouldn't have the same stats, right? Like, we build with the bricks that we're given, and you can choose to build a bridge or you can choose to build a wall. So I'm going to bridge and help people get where they want to be, whether that's to a kick-ass story or to creating a kick-ass comic or just to the next day. So that's who I am. That's what I speak to. And that's the message I want to be, reflective of for my kids. When it all came down to it, life was hard. Life was shit. We got a bad hand, but we turned it into what we could and we kept playing.
Yeah, man, that's good stuff. I'm over here like all up in my feels. I've got chills running up and down. Like that's that's it. Like, that's the point.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
not that I can go anywhere to top that, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention that you have a soundtrack. You've got a song from the Antibodies.
Yeah.
We also have a song from the Antibodies. So speaking of those like overlapping concentric circles,
Yeah.
because they're just the freaking coolest.
Dude,
Like
they're so fun.
they're so rad.
And it was cool because they reached out to me, which was
Okay.
super rad. And you know, knowing that they were part of the Hail the Deadites movie with,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, you love that. If
Yep.
you're a fan, and the fact that I Drive for Cerber deals with cryptids, and they were part of the cryptids movie with Billy Bob Thornton. And I've obviously behind me, I've got Toxic Crusader, you know, the Toxic Avengers, and like they did a cover of the theme song for that. Like there's so, like that small world crossover happens.
Yeah.
And you have to acknowledge it when it happens. Otherwise you grow blind to the opportunity. And this opportunity was just so much fun. And they've been super rad. They actually, even I told them, I said, hey, I'll be honest with you. The funds that I have for this Kickstarter is just to cover what it takes to make it.
Yeah.
But you know, you've told me, you know, what it's going to take to get this song made. I will set it as a stretch goal. And if I hit just that number, I'll be here for you. And they've been super rad. I gave them lyrics that I had written a while back.
Cool.
To a song. They took it and they ran with it. And so they actually did the instrumental for it already. And I got some scratch vocals and stuff. And they're like, here, use it to help promote yourself, you know, be cool.
Sweet.
And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, no sweat, you know, we can keep the ball rolling somewhere, you know. And I said, look, if it's made, I'm going to get it. It may not be tomorrow. It may not be right when the campaign ends, but
yeah,
I'm going to get it. And you guys have been super rad. And I'd love to help promote you guys as well as anybody else. And it's super fun. It's super fun. Bunch of rad dudes. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. We had similar experience where we were posting about like, our fictional band Hot Watermelon is going on tour, and they're going to the culmination of the story is at a music festival called Nest Fest. And my collaborator and I were like, why don't we work with real bands?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, we can come up with fake band names that are super fun and ridiculous. We've got plenty of those, but we also have bands that we listen to regularly, that we've interacted with on social media before, and some that we are just like swinging for the fences. And we just started reaching out to bands like, hey, can we put you in our comic? Like, can you send us a logo or whatever? And we'll put you on the Nest Fest poster and all that stuff. And it was one of the posts that I had made, or that Chris, we're both Chris's, but if Chris had made about like, hey, if you have a band in your comics, or if you're part of a band in real life, like, and you want to be in a comic book, like, we would love to talk to you. And it was the Antibodies that messaged him that were like, hey, so we're a band, yes, but like, if you want a soundtrack for your comic, we'd love to do that. And very quickly it was like, hell yes. I can't believe that you reached out to us. And like, here's the 0 issue, or a little 8-page ash can that we did.
I did the same thing. Yeah.
Like, read it. And in it, there's a scene where they're playing a song, and there's like one line of lyrics that we wrote for it. And they took that single line, and like some of our inspiration bands that were like, well, they'd probably sound kind of like this if they were a real band. And they're like, got it. And they turned in an instrumental that we were just blown away by.
Yeah.
And then they turned in the full lyrics as well. And we were like, holy shit, they did a whole ass song based on lyrics that I wrote, thinking nothing of it in our ash can. And now it's like inspired this real song. And so we were like, well, we have to press this onto a 7-inch vinyl. Like, we have to do this and make it like a single and do the full LP, like pressing. And we found a watermelon green that we're going to press it on. And I was like, dude, this is like, even if we only make them and nobody adds it as an add-on on the campaign, like, I want that.
I'll put it up on my wall. Yeah,
exactly. Like, I want to be able to say like, yeah, that's a real band that wrote a real song based on lyrics that I wrote. Like, how insane is that?
See, for Belial, I actually reached out with and had a little bit of a collaboration on one of the cover ideas, or technically 2 cover ideas, with Psycho Stick. which was pretty rad.
Yeah.
And that was just being able to use their logo and let them have some input on a cover design, just because I liked the band. It was fun.
Yeah.
But to have the song, like a song actually constructed and made and reasonably too, like,
yeah,
holy cow, like, hell yeah. Like, like I said, you'd be dumb to pass up opportunities when they present themselves that are so freaking cool. Freaking cool. And music has always been a huge part of my life. Like I said, comics and music and movies. That's my triumvirate of therapy.
Right. Yeah, it's also, well, I can't say it's cheaper because it's really not with the amount of comics that I buy, but
yeah,
and the cost of a freaking movie ticket these days. Not to get into that, let's go this way. So those are my official notes that I had for you, Shaun, but there's two more things that I want to do. The first is we're going to pose and I'm going to take a screenshot and use that as the YouTube thumbnail. If you've got props, feel free to use them. I'm going to start saying that because I usually love having props.
I mean, I could always pull out this guy. Just hold on. We will make him official.
Oh yeah,
he is posable.
There it is. All right, I'm gonna get my keyboard shortcut. We'll go in 3, 2, 1. Perfect. The other thing is what I gave you the heads up about before we came live. I love doing this show for a myriad of reasons. One of which is I get to talk to creators that are literally all over the globe, still waiting for that South Africa creator. But I get to talk to people all over the globe about comics. And even though society is saying, hey, everybody's different, and if they're different from you, they're bad. I like to flip that and say, yeah, they're different. And let's all celebrate that we are unified in our love for comics, creating and art. So to lean into that similarity and also difference, I always like to end every stream with just, I stop talking and I turn over the mic to every creator that sits in the chair on the other side of the screen there. And if there's anything you want people to hear from you, it could be a sales pitch for I Drive for Cerber. It could be something completely different, like make sure you always have a hand model in your desk office.
Literally.
The content to me doesn't matter at all. I just want to make sure that you've got some space to say whatever it is that you want people to hear from you. So Shaun, my friend, take it away.
First and foremost, everybody lead with passion, integrity, and honor above everything else. Treat each other right. And like I said, stand 10 toes down on what you believe. Because when it comes down to it, like your core of who you are is the most important, and that we need to persevere through tribulations and trials. And like I said, don't be afraid to play the shitty hand, because there's always another round. So yeah,
it's good. There's always another round. This has been full of really great metaphors. So go us.
You can't tell we've written anything. No.
Right. Not at all. Shaun, this was great, man. I had a blast talking to you. Thank you for just being as authentic and open as you were. This was what I want every stream to be like, if I'm being honest with you. So the time has come, though. I'm out of notes. We did all of our things, so I'm going to send people off. If you like this, I need to be better about doing this. If you like this, if you got anything out of this conversation today, hit the like and subscribe button down below. Do the thing. We got links in the description to Shaun's Kickstarter, to his website. We've also got a link to my Kickstarter because I'm shameless. So if you want to get in on the Barricade Brigade Chapter 1, the link is there as well. But really, like, share this with somebody that needs to hear any of the content that we talked about. There's a lot of really good stuff about creating why we create and creating through perseverance. And like, I think every creator needs to hear that other creators are going through that same thing and have gotten through that same thing. So also, though, like, it's time for the tagline: go do what's good for you and make some art, because I want to see it and it's good for you. We're out of here.
Peace.
And then I always dance